playing music, listening to movies, coming up here, not following the rules. Maybe they're not a Trump supporter or they're not from America at all. It's just havoc in the streets, everybody. It's just havoc in the streets. I don't know why people choose to act like this and to discard the rules I've set forth. But we will repeat the rules. If you are in that queue attempting to come up on the live stream, you got to be at least 18. You have to be from America and you have to support Trump.
Do you remember me?
I don't know, Allie. Do you support Trump?
We'll
go ahead and take that as a no and move on to the next guest. Here we go, everybody. Make sure that we are following those rules, as I've only said around 1 billion times. Oh, Jesus Christ. What a day we have in front of us, everybody. What's going on, Fleetwood Mama? Do you support Trump?
Good Lord, Dean. Yes, and we've talked before, and you pulled out the blanket. Do you remember me?
Why are you speaking in a fake British accent?
It's not fake. This is me, honey. But do you remember I had you put the blanket on? You were scared. Remember our debate? I told you to put your hands in the air so you couldn't chat GPT during the live. Do you remember?
Yeah, I do remember you.
I'll remember.
I'll let you do the fake British accent. But I will ask you, could you disconnect any type of Bluetooth device that you have connected?
Absolutely, oh honey. Okay, let's go. So
wait 1 second. Wait. I'm gonna start the live over on YouTube. So if you wouldn't mind just giving me a second. But seriously, you have like a Bluetooth device connected to your phone. Maybe you're talking through a headset, AirPods, or like a car mic. If you could just swipe down on the top right hand corner of your phone screen and click the little icon of the Bluetooth symbol, so you're just talking to me through your phone's mic, that would be awesome. And while you're turning off your Bluetooth, I'm gonna go ahead and start the live on YouTube. So if you wouldn't mind just giving me a second, while she takes a second to do that, that'd be great. Everybody, here we go. Live on YouTube has started. Hello and welcome into the stream. For everybody tuning in on YouTube, it is so good to have you in here with us today. We are going to go ahead and hop into the debates with Trump supporters. Honestly, my big question is how the hell can they still support Donald Trump after all of the shit that we've seen, not just in the last 150 days, but honestly, the last 48 hours. We have our first Trump supporter already loaded into the stream. Their name is Fleetwood Mama. So Fleetwood Mama, if you'd like to take it away and tell us why you support the man, the myth, the failure, Donald J. Trump, that would be great. Go for it.
I think you're taking a few hops ahead by saying he's a failure, honey. He's not a failure. He's trying to get world peace. We're going to get there.
Well, we failed.
We are getting there.
He failed at the whole...
How did he fail?
Yeah, for sure. Because the first claim was that we'd get world peace by taking out Iran's nuclear enrichment facilities. U.S. intelligence today tells us that we didn't take it out. We only set them back by a handful of months.
You think that's going to happen overnight?
1 second. And then he said that we were going to get world peace by having a ceasefire between Iran and Israel. So A, he lied. There was no official ceasefire agreement, but yet the two countries agreed to it. And then B, Israel violated that ceasefire agreement and then started bombing Iran not even 2 hours after it went into effect. So he's absolutely failed at what he set out to do.
The only correct thing I think you said right there was that they went ahead and went against the orders and they bombed anyway this morning, pissing him the fuck off. And he was mad. Hence that clip you see all over the internet, right? Where he's saying the F-bomb.
Right.
He's mad.
By the way, for everybody listening in, this is a fake British accent. I don't know why she's doing it. She is American.
No, it's not.
Yeah,
it's not any faker than the way you chat with people with your chat GPT. It's the same concept, honey.
I don't use chat GPT.
Danny boy, come on.
What do you obviously you don't see me typing or anything, so how am I telling ChatGPT what you're saying so it could give me a response?
No, not at this very moment. When we get in a heated discussion and we're on an important topic, your hands disappear.
I'll keep my hands in frame this whole time. So let's
it's okay.
So try to give me an argument for why you support Trump that you think would necessitate my use of ChatGPT.
It's not that I don't want to start it on the ChatGPT right now. I think we should start off about Trump's. You're saying he's unable to create world peace, and what he did was a start. It was a good start to world peace, and he came pretty damn close, and all they have to do now is listen to reason. But he's right. They don't know what the hell they're doing.
I have a question. Have global tensions increased or decreased in the last 150 days?
I would say they've increased. Anybody would say they've increased.
So if he was
Who wouldn't have a global tension increase with all that's going on?
If he was truly a president of peace, maybe he would have at least gotten one global conflict to subside in the last 150 days.
You think that can happen overnight? You think you can just wave your magic wand and make everybody love each other overnight? No.
Well, I think that we could definitely see a reduction in conflict in 150 days. Okay, but we haven't even seen a reduction in conflict.
Do you realize what types of countries we're trying to get peace with here? They've been fighting each other since before you were born, and me.
So if you're saying that he can't get peace with them, then you can't say he's a president that's going to achieve world peace.
No, I never said he can't get peace. I said he's trying damn hard, harder than anybody else in a really long time.
Okay, well, he's obviously...
And he's doing good, considering.
He's obviously... Wait, the only way you'd be able to say that he's doing good is if, like, we saw some results, but we just simply don't see any results. Tell me the results that we've seen in the last 150 days.
He bombed Iran, which disabled their nuclear abilities,
That's
right?
not
which
true.
saves a shitload of people.
No,
they can't do that anymore.
That's
There's
not
more
true.
to go.
I want to clarify.
Them.
What you just said is not true. Okay, so
he didn't bomb. He didn't use the bunker. What do they call them? The bunker buddies, the 30,000-pound bombs. He didn't use those a few days ago.
So what I told you is not true. Isn't the fact that he didn't bomb Iran? Obviously, we all know that's something that he's done, but he didn't restrict their nuclear abilities. I mean, like I said, we have U.S. intelligence this morning saying that we maybe set them back a couple of months, but we don't really know.
Are you afraid of the sleeper cells?
Okay, so now we're going to pivot to the sleeper cells.
No, we could. We don't have to, but it's an important part of it.
I'm just trying to understand.
Are you afraid of sleeper cells within the United States?
I'm just trying to understand why you support Trump, and I don't know if sleeper cells have too much to do with it. But
because he's trying to protect us. He's doing everything in his power to protect us and everybody else.
So realistically,
nobody else has been willing to do that.
So realistically, no, I'm not too afraid of sleeper cells. But here's the thing, because Iran did tell Trump a week before he decided to bomb them that if he did bomb them, then they would activate sleeper cells in America. And he still decided to go ahead with bombing them, risking the lives of Americans and risking the activation of those sleeper cells. Now, this was a terrible. Would you allow me to finish?
Okay, go ahead.
This was a terrible idea. Okay, he put the lives of Americans on the lines when he still decided to make that decision in lieu of the fact that the country of Iran had made a threat. And maybe your response is, well, we don't negotiate with terrorists. If anything, that gave us more reason to bomb them. Absolutely not, okay?
Thank you, Machido. Thank you for the rose, Machido. Thank you.
You're not even here for a debate.
You do to me. This is what you do to me when we debate. I'm doing it to you.
I haven't done it to you once in this conversation.
Because they haven't given you money yet, honey.
Yes, they have. I got, like, for instance, 3 minutes ago, I got $10 from Kendra saying, you're my daily entertainment while my kids nap. Thanks for keeping up. I appreciate you for that, Kendra.
I know, but my point
is, and then 4 minutes ago, I got $10 from Maddie saying that my grandparents are Maga leaning, and we've been watching your lives to start converting their minds. Thank you for the $10, Maddie. And then an hour ago, I got $10 from Gina. So, I mean, like, I have been getting donations. I've just been holding them off because I wanted to have a good conversation with you. Like, for instance, I also got $5 from Rose on Venmo and $15 from Kiara saying thank you for what you do. I appreciate that. But do you see how I've been...
Thank you, Timothy. Thank you.
How I've been how I've been, like, trying to not read off those donations because I've just been wanting you to give a point insofar as why you support Trump. I think that you need to calm down on the jealousy and just give us an argument for why Trump is a good president. Honey. Nicole, thank you for the motorcycle. I appreciate that. Well, take it away. Tell us why you support Trump.
There you go. Okay, so again, to repeat myself, me and a lot of other people in this country did not want him to do the Iran bomb. We didn't like it. We didn't like the whole feeling of it. We just didn't. Fighting is never good. We didn't want it, right?
Right.
You do a little bit of research on the side and then you realize, oh, okay, now you see what he's doing here. You get the big picture.
Okay, what's the big picture?
He's out to save so many people, including Americans.
Okay, and how
did he risk the sleeper cells coming in?
So,
yes, he took a risk in letting the sleeper cells in, but we would blow them to smithereens if they tried anything, and everybody knows it.
Okay, so then what's the pro of him of him bombing Iran? What's the pros we're seeing?
To show them who's boss, honey. That's the whole point.
So you're saying that we're just like bombing them to show them.
Thank you for the roses. Go ahead.
So you're saying that we're just bombing Iran just to bomb them and show them who's boss. I'm sorry.
No, that's not what I'm saying. Your surface level intelligence
are going to go ahead and get
me.
muted. So the reason that I muted you is you've only let me get 3 words out. We are not going to do that. I let you finish. Okay, I let you finish. Thank you for the cool disco thing. That's pretty sweet. And now you're going to let me finish. Okay, so I'm going to go back to what I was saying. So basically your argument is that you support Donald J. Trump because he bombed Iran literally just to bomb Iran. Okay.
No, that's not what I said. You're not speaking truth.
I'm going to go ahead and just leave that up to the determination of everybody listening to determine how DUMB that is. But you seem to really care about a reduction in global tension here. You care about world peace. So I'd like to ask you a question. If an American president greenlit Iran to further their development and construction of nuclear weapons, would you think that that president should be impeached?
Are you asking if someone from the United States funded Iran and the nuclear abilities that I should support that? Is that what you're asking?
If one of our presidents greenlit them furthering production of nuclear weapons.
Who the hell would do that except for the Biden administration and Obama?
If a president did that, would you support that being an impeachable offense?
Of course. Who wouldn't?
Okay. So then you'd say that you think that Trump should be impeached since he gave them the green light when he pulled us out of the nuclear peace agreement that we had with Iran.
That's not true.
Okay. You're interrupting me. I'll let you speak when I'm done. Like literally, just do it without the interruptions. What? Can we do it without the interruptions, please?
But you interrupted me. I was in the middle of a sentence.
I actually haven't interrupted you this whole conversation. But how about this? I'll agree that I'm not going to interrupt you if you could agree that you're not going to interrupt me. What if we do like a mutual agreement here? We're not going to interrupt each other. Is that fair?
That's fair. But here's the thing, honey.
Okay, no. Remember, you interrupted me. So I'm gonna continue saying what I was saying.
I've got to go.
You said that you want to run away now because you realize that you're fucked. So you said that you would say that you would agree with impeaching a president that greenlit the further construction of nuclear weapons in Iran.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
And now you're interrupting me again. Like dude, we agreed 10 seconds ago that we want to interrupt each other. Now you're right back to it. You're right back to it. You're right back to the interruptions, bro. What is this debate tactic? It's so fucking annoying. Like, dude, if you're just losing a debate, well, just suck it up. Be an adult. You're older than I am. God damn, why are you acting like a toddler? Just wait until I'm finished speaking. I'm not going to tell you more than like 4 times that you need to stop interrupting me, okay? I'm not your goddamn teacher. I'm not your nanny. I'm not your mommy. I'm not your daddy.
Count
okay?
to 10, honey.
Like, I'm not your kindergarten teacher. I'm not your babysitter.
Dean.
Okay? Like, I'm literally
Dean, it's okay.
I'm young enough to literally be your son, and I'm over here having to act like the adult. So I'm going to go back to what I was saying. Do not interrupt me for the very last time. So you told me that you would support impeaching a president if they greenlit Iran to further their development of nuclear weapons. Okay? Now, this is exactly what Donald Trump did when he pulled us out of the nuclear peace agreement that we had signed with the country in 2018. That nuclear peace agreement gave us confidence, gave the UN and the EU confidence that Iran was not furthering construction of their nuclear weapons. It gave the IAEA 24/7 surveillance access to all of their nuclear facilities, as well as it mandated them to deconstruct the machines necessary to enrich the uranium, and it also mandated them to give 97% of their enriched uranium to Russia. Now, when Donald Trump pulled us out of the agreement, it greenlit Iran into furthering their development in nuclear weapons. So, in other words, you'd say that Donald Trump should be impeached. Thank you for not interrupting me. You did good.
You're welcome, Dean. I think we got off on the wrong foot. So now let me correct you and say that that's not what I said. That's your interpretation of what I've said. You're listening to hear me. You're not listening to understand. Listening to hear me. So if that's what you think, you go right ahead. But that is not what I said at all. Anybody with a grateful brain would know that that's not what I said.
Okay. So I asked you...
twist it. You twist it to fit your agenda, and that's okay. So take a little hit off your anxiety pen and realize that it's going to be fine.
So I asked you if you'd support impeaching a president that greenlit Iran for their if you said that you'd support a president if that president
Correct.
greenlit Iran to further their development in nuclear weapons.
And that's not what Trump's done.
And I explained to you how that is what he's done. Now, if you disagree, you have to tell me why I'm wrong.
According to your logic, that's your logic compared to the rest of the world. That's your logic compared to the rest of the world, Dean.
Can you dispute the explanation I gave you?
Because it's and it's wrong, and it's not for the betterment of the people of this country.
Okay. So
no matter what, because it has Trump attached to it. That's the whole point.
So we had a little bit of lag there. I'm back now, everybody. Sorry, it did disconnect there for a second, but we are back now. So in other words, your explanation of why my explanation of how Donald Trump greenlit their further development in nuclear weapons by pulling us out of the nuclear peace agreement is that, Dean, you're wrong. Now, I can't tell you why you're wrong. I can't really explain to you why you're wrong, but I just think that you're wrong. Now, the issue that I have with this response is it's purely rhetorical, and it doesn't give me any substance at all. Okay.
Do you not think that he has a plan?
I'm not
Do
done.
you not think there's a plan that's been...
Okay, because I gave you very specific points insofar as to justify the conclusion that he did greenlight them for the further development of nuclear weapons.
Do
and
you not
didn't-
think that this
no,
man has a plan?
No. You're back to the interruptions.
You can't
and
answer
you
that.
didn't dispute any of those points. So the first point that I made was that he pulled us out of the nuclear peace agreement. Okay, I believe that him pulling us out of the nuclear peace agreement that we had with the country was giving them the green light to further development of nuclear weapons, because it literally it literally pulled them out of any contractual obligation or agreement to not develop nuclear weapons. All right, and we know that when they were signed into the agreement, they were not furthering the development of their nukes, because we had 24/7 access to surveillance of all of their nuclear facilities. So the moment that that Donald Trump ended that deal was the moment that the country of Iran was no longer obligated to stop their construction of nukes, meaning that that was the moment that he greenlit them to further their construction of nukes. It basically removed a quote-unquote law. It removed a quote-unquote international law off of them to not develop nukes. Okay, like this is like saying that my state governor removed a state law banning 20-year-olds from buying handguns. So if my state governor were to remove that law, well, then my state governor would be greenlighting me into buying a handgun. The same way that Donald Trump removed that quote-unquote international law that Iran agreed to, preventing Iran from furthering their construction of nuclear weapons.
That's comparing apples to oranges.
Okay, you got to tell me why my explanation is wrong.
Because the way I see it is there's a reason behind why the people that are put into power to make decisions for our country make the decisions they do. We trust that they're going to make the right decisions, even though on the surface it may seem like asinine and ridiculous.
I'm talking I'm talking to a goddamn fortune cookie. This is all rhetoric. This isn't substance.
This is 100% substance,
No,
but you
it's
don't
not.
listen to anything.
Because you're not telling me why my explanation is
view.
wrong. Tell me how Donald Trump wasn't
I
giving...
see your point.
Tell me
like
how.
I'm not disagreeing. I see what you're saying.
Okay, then tell me
But we
how I'm
have
wrong.
two different worldviews, honey. We have two different worldviews, and we're never going to meet in the middle.
Were they constructing nukes when they had that nuclear peace agreement with us?
I believe they were, yes.
What's your evidence for that? The Oversight Committee of the IAEA had 24/7 access to surveillance of all of their facilities.
My feelings tell me that, just like your feelings tell you that Trump is not good for us.
Your argument is your feelings?
No, that's what you go on, is your feelings.
That's your
where
argument?
your opinions come from. Or your feelings.
Wait. Your argument is your feelings?
No, you're taking me out of context again.
You just said you just said my feelings tell me that.
I was being sarcastic. See, you don't even know when to pick up on sarcasm.
Okay, well, what's the non-sarcastic response? Why do you think that they violated the peace agreement?
I don't care. Why? They can't mess around with the United States.
Answer my question.
Also.
Answer my question. Were they developing nukes when we had the nuclear peace agreement signed with them?
I think so, yes.
What's your evidence for that claim? Because the IAEA, which was the oversight committee approved by the UN and approved by the EU, reported 0 infractions the whole time we had the agreement in effect, and they had access to every single one of their nuclear facilities 24/7.
Yes. Okay. Dean,
So how do you know that the IAEA was wrong?
I don't know that they're wrong.
Yes, you do, because in saying that you believe that they were not, honoring the deal, they were violating the deal and developing the nukes. Well, then you're basically implying here that the IAEA was wrong when they said they had no infractions in the 3 years the deal was in effect, even though the IAEA had access to every single one of their nuclear facilities.
Okay. Well, we'll agree to disagree.
How can you disagree with that? That's a logical implication.
I need to do some research.
Obviously, you need to do some research. You're ignorant as fuck.
This isn't you proving me wrong. This is two worldviews meeting in the middle. Me saying, I need to do more research. Thank you for your information. I'll take it with a grain of salt. So we respectfully agree to disagree.
How can you disagree that the implication of you saying that they broke the agreement would be okay? How can you disagree with the fact that if you're saying that they broke the agreement, this would imply that the IAEA was wrong when they said they didn't break the agreement?
I don't know. I don't know.
Exactly. See, you're fucking gagged. You can't explain how that implication is not made. You're just saying shit to say it. Do you see here how your worldview is inherently illogical? It's outside of reality. Do you see the issue?
It's not outside of reality. It's just a different worldview, and that's okay.
It's a worldview that's outside of reason, fact, and logic.
No, not really, honey, because we elected him as president. We trusted him for a reason.
Wait, so you're saying that because Trump is president, I'm wrong?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Then what are you saying? What the fuck is going on, y'all? Wow, what a way to start the stream, let me tell you. I'm pretty sure she's leaving right now. What a way to start the stream. So everybody, that is what a MAGA cultist looks like. Everybody, that is what a MAGA cultist looks like. And as you will see there, it is very hard for me to keep my cool when I'm faced with such a level of dystopian anti-intellectualism, okay? It is very hard for me to keep my cool. But when I do keep my cool, as I did at the end of that conversation with her, it is just so good at exposing the absurdities, right, of what these people believe in and why. Okay, so what we just observed was a complete failure of logical faculties and faculties of an ability to reason of her brain. Okay, so her brain basically just pooped out and she became an illogical mess. And that's what you guys just witnessed. Welcome in the dad bod. Do you support Trump? Thank you so much for the cool disco gift. I appreciate you for that.
I support the...
Oh, hi, Dad Bod. Are you driving?
Yeah, that looks good on you. So I support the... I'm sorry, go ahead.
Are you driving?
No, I'm not. I'm sitting inside of a truck that has air conditioning.
I don't trust him. Plus, he had a little bit of a delay there, which would have made for a very hard conversation. So we are going to move on to the next guest. While we are, Sadie, thank you for the $1 over on PayPal. Maxine, thank you for the $5 over on PayPal. And Amanda, thank you for the 5 as well. You guys are awesome. Welcome in Leroy. And Leroy is gone. And oh my God, yo, Christian with the $300 donation over on PayPal. Dear God, Christian, that is so incredibly kind of you. While we are getting that next Trump supporter up in the box, can we please get 3,000 Christian W's down below in that comment section? As well as I see here that Christian has explicitly asked me to not read his message out loud, so you got it. I will not read your message out loud, man. But thank you so much, man. That is so incredibly kind and generous of you. Seriously, bro, that is so kind. That is so kind. So once again, while we're getting that next Trump supporter up in here, show some love to the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Christian, down below in that chat. Thank you, man, from the bottom of my heart, truly. Thank you so much for the $300 donation, man. What is going on, Lucas? Are you MAGA? And Lucas has a little bit of stage fright, so unfortunately Lucas is not here. Continue to show some love down to Christian down below in that comment section while we're getting the next guest up here. But if you happen to be one of the 20,000 people watching over on TikTok and you support Trump and you'd like to come up here and have a conversation with a level-headed liberal, let me know down below. I cannot believe that we have 20,000 people in here and it is just impossible to find a Trump supporter to debate. What is going on your local Bass Head? Do you support Trump? The Trump supporters are so scared that they won't even open up their mouth. What is that? Isn't that something that is quite interesting? All right, everybody, look at this. We have 20.5 thousand people watching. Can't find one person to come up and debate. What is going on, Chase? Do you support Trump?
Yes, I do.
And how old are you, Chase?
41.
41, awesome. Do you think that, I don't know, your mic is a little bit muffled, but it shouldn't be an issue. Real quick before we hop into your debate, though, I would love to thank Rachel for the $10 over on Venmo, saying thank you for educating me every day. I appreciate you for the $10, Rachel. Erica, thank you for the $15 as well. Thank you so much for the love, Erica. Let's get 150 Erica W's, as well as Pam and Kiara, both with the $5. You guys are phenomenal. Thank you so much for the love over on Venmo. Go ahead and take it away, Mr. Chase. Why do you support the man, the myth, the failure, Donald J. Trump as president?
Well, let's talk about what you were just saying to that previous caller about JPCOA when Trump pulled us out.
Yeah.
And you were asking, do you think that caused, was there any nuclear weapons being built? What was the question exactly, if you remember?
Yeah, I asked her if she would support impeaching a president that greenlit Iran's further construction of nuclear weapons. She said, yes, I would support impeaching them. And I think that is exactly what Donald Trump did when he pulled us out of the nuclear peace agreement that we had with Iran.
Okay. So you're saying that under that deal, they were, with the inspections, that they were not building the nuclear weapons, correct?
Yes.
Okay. But you think that they are closer now to having a nuclear weapon than they were back then?
Well, I think that actually, I didn't make a claim about how close or far away they are. I made a claim
No, I
about
know. That's a
Donald Trump
question I'm
essentially
asking you now.
green lighting them. Do I think
But
that
I'm
they're
asking you that now.
Do I think that they're closer? Well, I mean, I think that we did see that the IAEA reported that they had begun enriching uranium again. So, I mean, I would obviously assume that not existing in a nuclear peace agreement would mean that they're closer to having nukes. But I don't know exactly what that means or how close they are.
Well, you got to. Do you disagree with them being at 60% of your rich uranium?
Do I disagree with it? Well, I mean, I think that we should probably denuclearize every single country in the world. But honestly, would you mind answering the question that I was asking to the last guest?
Yeah. My answer to you is, I think that under the
I did had
is
nothing to do with the question that I asked.
well, it is because what you said was, do you think while they were doing the inspections, and if he didn't pull us out of that nuclear deal, that we wouldn't be in the situation kind of what we're in today?
No, my question was, would you support impeaching a president that greenlit Iran
No, I didn't hear that
for
part.
the
That's
construction
what
of
I was
nuclear
talking about.
weapons?
Well, that wasn't the question I was referring to. The question I was referring to that you asked to was, well, I didn't hear that one. I'm talking about a different one when you got into a little bit of the debate when it started calling it in.
So then the question would have been, do you think that they violated the nuclear peace agreement prior to 2018 when Trump pulled us out?
No, I don't.
Okay.
And I think what happened is it's like the same thing as turning around and saying, you heard, Biden plenty of times said that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. So it would be like with your same argument to say that when Biden came in after Trump pulled us out, Biden did nothing after that. So it'd be like the same thing as turning around today and saying, Biden had a much higher immigration level than Trump. So then Trump came in today and he just did nothing about it.
Okay.
So
that's actually not true. So the Biden-Harris administration actually did try to re-enter into that peace agreement with Iran, but obviously they didn't want to because the last
course they
president had
didn't
pulled
want
us out, and that showed us as an unreliable negotiator. I'm actually going to ask you the same question I asked the last guest. Would you support impeaching a president that greenlit Iran's further construction of nuclear weapons? Dude, is this guy leaving? Are you joking?
hold on. I'm not leaving. I hit the button by mistake.
Yeah, would you support impeaching a president that greenlit Iran's further construction of nuclear weapons?
Who further greenlit them?
Yeah, just greenlit their nuclear program.
I mean, it would have to be, there would be, if you want to go with just what you're asking for absolutely no reason and nothing else behind it, yeah, I would say, well, I would have certain questions to say, why are you doing that?
I mean, I'm asking if you'd support impeaching them or not.
If you want to answer it in the way you're doing, yes, I would support impeaching him.
Okay, so then you'd support impeaching Trump because that's what he did
No,
when
I
he pulled us
wouldn't.
out of the nuclear peace agreement.
Yeah, again, that's not true because not only did he pull us out of it, but he also hit Iran with massive sanctions. Okay. He told the world to turn around and say anybody who is buying any oil from Iran is not doing business.
So re-sanctioning
They were on
Iran. Re-sanctioning Iran was a part of pulling us out of the nuclear peace agreement. So before we went into the nuclear peace agreement in 2015, we had really massive sanctions on Iran. A part of the nuclear peace agreement was to lift those sanctions if they stopped the construction of their nuclear weapons. So when he pulled us out of that agreement, that didn't just imply that they are greenlit to further the construction of their nuclear weapons, but that also implied that we are greenlit to reimpose those sanctions on the country as we had prior to the nuclear peace agreement.
Correct. But what happened is Donald Trump lost the second election. Biden came in and did absolutely nothing. Not only did Biden not put the sanctions back, not only did he turn around and say, we're not getting back into the nuclear deal. And if you want to turn around and say, well, Iran told Biden no, well, then that just goes to show that Biden is not a strong enough president, because if Biden wanted to get back into that deal and Iran would have said no, and all the other countries that were involved in that deal were saying yes, and they all turned around and still said no, well, then Biden should have massively put those sanctions back on Iran and said, you know something? Yeah, Trump pulled you out. I had you in. I'm back here now, and I lead by strength. And Biden didn't do that. Okay, that is what got Iran to raise the enrichment up to 60%. Now you've had Hillary Clinton talking about it. You've had Barack Obama. You've had Biden. Everybody talking about that Iran cannot become a nuclear power. And it just sounds to me that people like yourself and other Democrats are saying, It was the wrong thing to do. We should have waited until they did have the nuclear weapon and used the nuclear weapon. Then we should have went in after them.
Okay, I don't know why you're just fucking
Makes
lying.
sense to me.
Okay, are you ready to let me
How?
speak? So I don't understand
Yeah,
why
of course.
you're just like fucking lying. So you said that the
I'm not
Biden-Harris
fucking lying.
Yes, you are. You said that the Biden-Harris administration didn't sanction Iran, right? That was a claim that you made at least 3 times.
As
in less
much
30
as Donald
seconds.
Trump did.
That's not true at all.
As
Not only did they keep the economic sanctions placed on Iran by Trump when he pulled us out of the JCPOA, but they also imposed new sanctions on February 8th, 2021, September 22nd, 2022, June 2023, May 2024, September 2024, and December 2024. So don't act like the Biden-Harris administration lifted sanctions or did not impose new sanctions, because that is simply a lie. That does not equate to reality, sir. Now, I'm also going to add... No. You are going to go ahead and allow me to finish speaking. So do not lie. Do not say that they lifted sanctions. Not only did they keep the sanctions that Trump placed, but they placed new sanctions 5 times in their 4 years. Now, on to the second point of you saying, well, if Biden couldn't renegotiate another nuclear peace agreement with the country of Iran, that means he's not a strong president. I'm so sorry. Wasn't like the touted golden claim of Trump prior to bombing Iran this idea that he gave them 60 days to re-enter into a nuclear peace agreement, in which they refused to do, meaning that in accordance with your own logic, Trump isn't a strong enough president either?
No, not true. Because what
Explain to
Trump
me the
did-
difference between saying that if Biden couldn't get a deal done, Biden was weak, but if Trump can't get a deal done, he's the best president since George Washington.
You're going to let me speak and I'll tell you? Because in the JPCOA, or whatever the initials are to it, I hope I'm saying them in the right order, there was a time limit on those sanctions when Barack Obama put it into Iran, saying you cannot do this for X period of time, whether it was 10 years or 15 years, which if it was 10 years would be coming up right around now. Donald Trump is turning around and saying to them, no more, ever again, 0. So it's a big difference between turning around and saying, well, you can't enrich and you can't have a nuclear weapon for, say, 10 or 15 years than it is to saying you're never going to have one, ever, end of story, period, end quote. That's the difference between the two deals. So when Trump was coming back in, there was no time limit. You got people out here literally turning around and saying Iran is a sovereign nation and they should have a nuclear weapon. So I'll just ask you straight out, do you believe that Iran should have a nuclear weapon, yes or no?
You didn't respond to anything that I said, and for that reason, I'm going to re-ask you the questions. You did not respond to anything that I said, because there's particularly 2 questions that I asked of you, or more so one statement that I wanted you to respond to than one question I wanted you to respond to, and you didn't respond to either of them. The first statement that I made that I wanted you to respond to was the fact that you said that Biden lifted sanctions. I corrected you by stating that not only did he not lift sanctions, he kept the sanctions in place and imposed new sanctions 5 times. And then the question that I asked you that I wanted you to respond to was the fact that you said, if Biden couldn't negotiate a deal with him, this means that Biden was weak. So does this mean that Donald Trump is also weak? Because it is the case that he also couldn't negotiate a deal with him. So you didn't respond either to the statement I made or the question that I asked. You merely just brought up the fact that in accordance with the JPCOA, there was a time limit on how long they couldn't enrich uranium beyond a particular threshold or point to, and Donald Trump didn't want that time limit. He wanted it forever. Okay, so that is yet another claim that I could give you either my critiques on, my thoughts on, if I agree or disagree, or over it's true or false. All right, and I think that's valid, that's fine, that's awesome, but that is not a response either to the statement I made to refute your claim related to Biden lifting sanctions, or the question that I asked you paralleling your logic, saying if Biden couldn't get a deal, that means he's weak, therefore because Trump couldn't get a deal, that also means he's weak, correct?
Okay, so then answer your questions as far as Biden, okay? If you're going to there, stand up there and ramble off all the dates of the sanctions, why don't you go back and say, on this date, he issued a sanction. What was the sanction? I don't know, but you seem to be reading about it. And then also answer the fact that
would you like me to tell you?
What was it? Was it the $5 billion that he released for the money that we were holding? And 6 months later, October 7th happened? And everybody wants to turn around and say, well, he didn't get any of that money. They didn't do this. Nonsense.
Okay.
They just took
and now
money
you're
that they
making a
had
new
more
claim
than
about
the
releasing other money. But
Well,
once again, you're
I'm
not
talking
responding
about
to my question about the sanctions.
the response
Listen,
to
man.
your question.
It is not the response to what I said whatsoever. I made a very clear statement that he didn't lift sanctions. He imposed new ones. And I asked a very clear question. If Biden's weak because he couldn't achieve a nuclear peace agreement, so is Trump Trump according to your logic. The first time I made that statement and then asked you a question, you responded by making a parallel saying that the JCPOA would have only been in effect for 8 years. What Donald Trump wanted was forever. And now the second time I've re-asked you to answer my question and to respond to my statement, your response is just to bring up like Biden apparently giving them money. Okay, well, none of those two statements are a response to what I said. So either respond directly to what I said without pivoting, or we'll just do this loop forever. Like, I understand that it is a very handy debate tactic for people on the right to pivot and deflect whenever a very, very, very specific statement and or question is made that refutes what you believe in. Okay, this is honestly the best tactic for any debater on the right. Okay, because at the end of the day, when we walk down the reasoning, when we walk down reality, when we walk down your claims, they're false. I mean, that's just the reality of it. See, that's why you should be progressive. That's why you shouldn't be MAGA. It's because MAGA it fundamentally is reliant upon a worldview of delusion. So when we walk down your claims, they're ultimately false. But the thing that you're doing is when I'm walking you down, you're just pivoting and deflecting. So without pivoting and deflecting, admit and concede that you're wrong, that no, Donald Biden did not lift Trump's sanctions on Iran. In fact, he only imposed new ones.
Okay, you done? I'm going to answer your questions as you say. Okay, Biden, okay, did lift some of the sanctions off of Iran, which was not allowing Iran to export oil to countries that Donald Trump had banned 100%. That's why China and Russia and countries like that are buying oil from Iran, where under Donald Trump, they were not. So those are two sanctions that were lifted off of Iran when Biden came in. Now, to turn around to answer your second question, or the statement that you wanted me to ask about why is Joe Biden a weaker president than Donald Trump? Because I said that Donald Trump did more with Iran than Biden. Biden came into the office after Donald Trump pulled us out of the JCPOA, and he wanted to work with Iran. He lifted $5 billion.
So let's respond to that. Can we respond to the sanctions claim first?
Listen, I said, even though you muted me, I want
to break it into two separate conversations. Let's first just start with the sanctions claim, okay? Okay. So now
was Russia and China buying oil from Iran during Donald Trump's sanctions?
Now you're saying that he lifted some of the sanctions. So first we need to
point out, he lifted none.
Now, first we need to point out that you are equivocating between your claims.
No, you are equivocating. You said he lifted none.
The first claim that you made was that he lifted the sanctions imposed on Iran, which was not true. Now you're saying that he lifted some. Your first claim was that he lifted all. So what specific sanctions did they lift?
Okay, what I said was that they lifted sanctions off of Iran. I didn't use the word all.
Which ones?
I just told you. Exporting of oil.
Okay, when was that sanction lifted?
Under the Biden, listen, I'm not sitting there in front of a computer like you are.
I know, right? But I am. I'm lifting at the entirety of the Biden presidency as it relates to sanctions on Iran. So when did they lift sanctions on Iran, and which sanctions were they?
Exporting of oil to Russia and China during the Biden administration. I don't know the dates. What do you want me to tell you? I don't know the dates.
Okay, can you give me a source on this?
Can I give you a source that China and Russia are both buying oil from Iran?
No, I want a source that the Biden-Harris administration lifted sanctions on them.
Well, let's put it to you this way. Why don't you Google the facet of what were the sanctions under Donald Trump? Since you seem to know that on September 24th,
stop it. Stop muddying the water. 1 second, sir. Please stop muddying the water. Obviously, yes, you are, because obviously if the Biden-Harris administration lifted some sanctions on the country, there should be a source about it.
Then let me ask you this. Very simple. How about this source? It's called logic. You seem to, you call yourself an intellectual genius.
No, I'm going to need an empirical source, not a...
Okay.
No, sir, I'm so sorry. This is so weak. I don't need a rational source. I need an empirical source. Okay,
well, so
if it is true that the Biden-Harris administration lifted any sanctions on Iran, there will be an empirical source to demonstrate when that decision was made, what specific sanction was lifted, and how the decision was made, and through what executive order, policy, memorandum, executive action, etc. Right, Chris? I appreciate you for the baby dragon. Okay, and you're basically telling me that you don't have a source here. You can't find me evidence of your claim, but you want to try to prove it logically. Well, no, it's not a rational or logical claim that the Biden-Harris
No,
administration
it's
lifted
not.
the sanctions.
It's not.
It'd be an
I'm go-
empirical claim, right? So I don't need a logical source. I need an empirical source.
okay. I'm going to tell you what the source is. Okay.
Great.
Currently, as we speak here today, both Iran is selling oil to Russia and China. That we know. Okay. Now, the only way that could have happened since the sanctions would be if Donald Trump did it within the last 6 months. If Donald Trump didn't do it within the last 6 months, okay, then it had to have happened under the Biden administration. Otherwise, they wouldn't be buying their oil from Iran.
Okay.
Okay.
So therefore, if what you're saying is true, then you'll be able to find a source to show that it happened.
Okay, well, why don't we do this for argument's sake, and let's say that there's no way in the world that you would believe, or anybody on this live would
Sir,
believe.
are you going
that
to
Donald
provide
Trump
yes or no? Are you?
No,
going to
I'm not going to go
source?
searching on the internet right now for your specific.
Okay, great. Then concede the point.
No, I'm not going to concede. You concede the point that you said no sanctions were lifted.
Wait, if you're not going to concede the point, even though you can't find evidence for what you're saying, like you're just a dense, hard-headed, anti-intellectual POS.
Well, if you can't understand to the facet, or if you want to deny right now that you are just not smart enough to know that Russia and China are both buying oil from Iran, then you better go out and do more of your research.
Wait. So I want to clarify. I'm the donut that needs to do research, even though you're the man that's making a claim with no evidence and no source. Why are you projecting and gaslighting so astronomically hard? I can't even believe that this is a real conversation that we're having here, right? Like, and honestly, I bet everybody watching this live right now can understand my perspective. Like, you're very obviously in the wrong here, regardless of like the bias that the viewership may hold. So the reason why I say that you're very obviously in the wrong here, regardless of the bias that the viewership may hold, is because you're making a claim. The claim is that the Biden-Harris administration lifted sanctions on Iran. Okay, right now, in order to justify this claim, you'd have to provide evidence that the Biden-Harris administration lifted sanctions on Iran. This would look at like a repeal of a mandate set forth by the Trump administration. This would look like a new executive order to lift sanctions that were previously imposed. This would look like maybe a policy passed through Congress that included lifting these sanctions. And Google is free. You have access to a resource vault of trillions of different inputs, dialogues, articles, and reporting on everything done in the last 4 years by the Biden-Harris administration. And if you're saying that you have no evidence, right, for what you're saying, obviously, then I'd have no reason to accept what you're saying. Nobody should accept claims without sources. Nobody should accept claims without evidence. And you simply don't have that. Now, I think what is crazy here is now you're trying to paint me like I am the STUPID one. You're trying to paint me like I'm the one in the wrong. You're trying to paint me like I'm the bad person that needs to do more research just because I'm unwilling to accept your claim without any evidence or receipts. That's outrageous.
Really? You just said 5 minutes ago, and take that exact rant that you just said to me and put it to yourself when you said that Biden administration lifted any sanctions from Iran. None. That's what you said. Where's your proof? Where's your information? Where is everything you just said to me? You said they lifted zero, none. You didn't say they switched. You didn't say, well, maybe they lifted this one, but they also implemented this one. Because if that's your contention, well, then maybe they added a sanction, but then also gave them $5 billion.
Okay. So first and foremost, this is technically a deflection. The reason why I say this is technically deflection is because you are now shifting the burden of you providing the evidence that for your claim into me providing the evidence of a claim that I made. But yeah, if you're curious for evidence for the claim that I made, right, well, feel free to go on Google, type in Iran nuclear deal. U.S. sanctions will not be lifted for talk, says Biden, which was published on February 7th, 2021 on BBC. And then you could also find evidence of the imposition of more tariffs in 2022, 2023, then 3 times in 2024 on Axios. Particularly, you could look up U.S. sanctions, Iran's mortality police over death of a woman in custody, etc. See how I'm able to provide you sources here. So I'm going to go and ask you one last time if you could provide sources for your claim. And if you can't, well, I'm just going to move on because I'm here for productive dialogue, not conversations with absolutely lost, mental decayed, brain-rotted old men that want to support Trump, no matter what, even when you have no reason to.
Right.
So
But you
either
can't
can
answer the
provide us-
simple question
I
is,
did. I just gave you a
no,
source. So what is
not
your
right
source?
now. I can't. My question is,
Okay.
do you think Iran should have a nuclear weapon or not?
So if
Yes or
you
no?
can't provide a source for
Yes
your
or no?
claim,
Do you think so?
I'm not willing to move on until you either provide a source or
Because you
concede.
can't. You won't answer that question. That one little question. You will not answer.
It's not fair for you to ask me as well as everybody watching to just completely deflect around the claim that you
Dude,
made.
everybody in
unless-
this live is saying how wrong you are. Just look at all the comments saying.
It's not fair for you to ask me as well as to everybody listening for us to just completely move on from the claim that you made unless you either justify it or concede it. Now, if you want to concede the claim, I'm more than welcome to move on, but you just have to admit that.
So if I concede the claim, I can beat you up and other things.
You have to admit a concession, all right? Or
Okay, I
like provide
concede.
evidence.
You know, Dean, like I said, you are the intellectual gene. You are Gene Withers. I'm an intellectual gene.
Yeah, he's fucking trolling. Okay, got it. So we're gonna move on to the next guest, everybody. Now that is a really good demonstration on how to deal with the decayed, mental, brain-rotted Trump supporters that think that they have evidence to justify what they believe in. And the way to go about that is to press them really, really, really hard for receipts or evidence to suggest that their claims are true. Okay, and what you'll see there is that they're very opposed to this concept of providing evidence for what they're saying, right? Because they believe that they could believe in things without evidence. All right? And how crazy is that, guys? How crazy is that? How crazy is it to say that we could believe in things without evidence? That's nuts, right? What's going on, Herschel? Do you support Trump?
Hey, no, I'm not a Trump supporter, but I do really like your.
I really appreciate you for that love. I do got to kick you out not only because you're not MAGA, but also because you do sound underage. If you happen to be one of the 20,000 people watching the stream, you guys, make sure that you're hopping in that queue. If you're at least 18 from America and support Trump, I'd love to bring you up here and to have a conversation. Jennifer, I appreciate you for that money gun. We are going to go ahead and move on to the next guest at this point in the conversation. Everybody, let's go and get that next guest, 616, loaded into that stream. Everybody, here we go. While we do, Frisk, thank you for the $10 over on YouTube Super Chat, saying I watch you every day and love how you educate the ignorant. I appreciate you for that love. As well as Kimberly, thank you so much for the $20 over on Super Chat, saying that the MAGA cope is so bad today and they are actually doubling down. Kiddo, are they even reachable anymore? Well, I don't think that the last two guests I've discussed with are reachable, and honestly, the reason why I still engage in conversation with them is because I believe that there's not a massive takeaway for them, but there's a massive takeaway for everybody listening to my conversation with them. But show some love to Frizz and Kimberly down below in that chat, as well as to Julia for the $20 Super Chat over on YouTube. Thank you so much. And Alania, thank you so much for the $50 Super Chat. Julia says, have another donation, and Alania is informing me that she passed her exams. Good fucking job, Alania. Let's get 1,000 Alania W's down below and 200 Julia W's down below in the chat for all the love. And 616, what is going on, man? Do you support Trump?
Yes, I do support Trump
Great, how do you?
a lot of ways. I'm 20.
You're 20, what year are you born in?
March 11, 2005.
Phenomenal, man. Well, let's go ahead and hop into that debate. Real quick, before we do, Kira, thank you for another $5 on Venmo. Violet with a 5, Ian with a 5, and Kristen with a 10. Kristen says, I love watching your lives. They're very entertaining. I'm glad that you are taking something away from them. I would also like to thank Maxine and Amanda for the 5, and Lee for the 5, and Livia for the 5 over on PayPal, as well as Diane with the $25 donation over on PayPal, saying for the intelligence. Thank you, Diane. Let's get 250 Diane W's and 500 William W's for the $50 donation. That is William spelled W-I-L-L-E-M, William. Dude, that is so incredibly kind of you. I do not deserve that at all. Thank you guys so much for the love. Show some love to all the donors down below. Alania, Julia, Diane, and William, you guys are awesome. Now, take it away, 616. Why do you support Trump?
I support Trump in his, as he is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces and what he's doing. I love to see that. It's great.
Okay, so what is he doing that you think is great? Let's be specific.
That parade of his is pretty cool. That was pretty cool. You see all that parade?
Yeah, that was a massive waste. He only wasted around 150 mil on that. I think that was
He wasted 150 million?
I think it might have even been a little bit more.
Do you really think it cost any money to get all those troops out there for them to march around and stuff? No, they're really just. Well, I mean, to be fair, you're right. They had to pay like all the troops.
Right, and then also like
that.
all the ammunition that they shot, setup of the venue, of the location, ticketing the event.
Yeah, but
and also I'd say that the largest cost was shipping all of the equipment out there.
But like, there's another thing about that is like, it's like, when was the last time we had a show of military force like that besides our little airplanes?
The 90s.
Yeah, see, it's been a while, so I mean, I think what he did was good there. With,
Okay.
I mean, he basically
I'm
orchestrated it.
saying that it's bad because it was just kind of an unnecessary waste of a lot of money. Like like obviously like this is the first time I've heard
So
anybody.
is giving
Can
water
you
to
can you
plant.
can you wait for me to finish?
Oh, sorry.
So I'm saying that it's bad because it was an unnecessary waste of like a lot of money. Like seemingly even Trump agrees. I mean, he was seen spiraling and very sad at how it turned out. Not a lot of people showed, and the troops were walking out of line. And then you're saying that it's good. You don't really care about that expenditure because maybe it's been a while since we have a military parade. Okay, all right. Well, I'm actually fine to agree to disagree on this particular subject, just because I don't think it's like too relevant. Like hopefully like a military parade, right, isn't like the reason why you support Trump.
Oh no, I voted for him because
Well,
he's
no, you could tell us why you voted for him, but like I'm more so just trying to determine why you still support him today, and if those reasons are still relevant. Take it away.
I support him because he's a good idol to the American country.
Oh, are you
Like,
sure?
yeah,
Oh, really? A rapist
positive.
is a good positive role model to look up
Well,
to.
they don't have any like. Well, he hasn't been convicted of that.
Oh, he's actually been held civilly liable for it by unanimous jury of 9. That's right. Or like this guy that's boasted about perving on naked teenage girls while they're undressing in a woman's only space. That's a good role model to look up to. Would you want your child to look up to that guy?
Now that you're talking about that, probably not. But like,
Right. Me
I don't
neither.
have any kids, so I mean,
Right.
it doesn't
Me
really
neither.
apply to me.
Obviously, like an adjudicated rapist that is boasted about perving on underage naked teenage girls.
Well, he's never been convicted of that, though. You have to be kind of convicted, like you have to be thrown onto the sex offender list. I mean, he's not a sex offender because he's not a sex.
Are
on
you
the
saying that
sex-
about both claims about being a rapist and perving on underage girls?
Well, he's not on the sex offender list, so you're just capping out of your ass.
So my question is, do you disagree with both of those two claims for that reason? Like, are you saying
Yeah,
Okay.
I
Okay.
disagree with what you're saying because it's not true.
Okay, and what have I told you that it is true?
No, well, not much really. You
No.
don't do that much research.
No, what kind of evidence would you need?
Well, I would need evidence that supports that. Well, who did you say he touched it? You didn't really say he touched anyone. You
Well, yeah,
said
let's
he was
just
a
talk about this
rapist.
claim. So let's talk about this claim first. Like, I don't know, like owning Miss Teen USA and Miss USA and like walking backstage before the event started while the teenage girls and the adult women were like undressed, right, in the woman-only changing room, and you just like kind of walk into the space to look at them while they were naked, right? Like, what kind of evidence would you need to believe that?
Sure, I didn't know he would do all that, but that doesn't make any sense because he'd be convicted.
Okay, so what kind of
If he
evidence
did.
so what kind of evidence what if he admitted to it? Would that be enough evidence?
Yeah, that would be if he
Okay.
admitted on live television that. Yeah, no.
And if he
yeah.
did admit to this, would you still support him?
No,
Are you no takesy backsies?
I'm probably gonna vote for a Democrat.
Well, I just want to clarify,
After.
like if he admitted to this on live TV and you knew about it for sure, like would you say that I no longer support Trump? I'm no longer a Trump supporter.
Yeah, I would no longer support him. It's that easy.
There's no Palestinian freedom.
But he doesn't have you don't have any proof though that you just have because he is a felon, but he's not he's not on the sex offender list.
All right,
so.
here we go.
Could that be construed, however, as
I'm totally not trying to troll.
It could be a conflict of interest, but you know, it's the kind of thing you worry about.
Sorry, I needed to pause it for the sound effect of the GIF. Thank you so much for the Leon the Kitten. Thank you, Leon. It's Lennon. It's incredibly good to see you again here today. Thank you for the love, Lennon. Shout out to Lennon down below in that chat, but let's go and roll the clip.
Later.
Oh, I see.
You tend to think about the conflict a little bit later on.
The question is, how can it not be construed?
No, I mean, some of these foreign girls, you know, Mr. Trump, in my country, we say hello with the vagina. And
Well, you could also say
This
as the
is
owner,
crazy.
Imagine it's your obligation to do that.
so you have done that. Now, tell
Well,
me
I'll
what-
tell you the funniest is that I'll go backstage before a show.
Yes.
And everyone's getting dressed and ready and everything else. And, you know, no men are anywhere. And I'm allowed to go in because I'm the owner of the pageant, and therefore I'm inspecting it. You know, I'm inspecting. I want to make sure that
You're like a
everything is
doctor.
good.
You're there.
Yeah, the dress. Is everyone okay? You know, they're standing there with no clothes. Is everybody okay? And you see these incredible-looking women, and so I sort of get away with things like that.
Okay, so your two
Okay, so
options
I-
are as follows. Your first option is to say, wow, you proved it to me. I'm going to be a man of my word. I no longer support Trump. Your second option is to play the mental gymnastics game where you try to find some justification to support being a raging hypocrite. So which one will it be?
All right, so I'll man up and I don't really support Trump. I just voted for him because my dad voted for him.
So you no longer support Trump?
Well, I never really did support Trump in the first place. I just like
Bro, what does my
I
background
voted
say?
for him. But okay, hold up, let me say something. I voted for him. I was just curious
Okay, if
on
you could
what
go back in time, would you still vote for him?
No, I would vote for Kamala.
Great, man. That's awesome, 616. Well, I guess we're going to go to move on to the next guest because it's a job done. Let's go and get that next guest up in the box right now, everybody. Go ahead and just give us a minute to get that done. We got Erica loading up into the box as we speak. Phenomenal. That last guest was a little bit confusing, but I guess, we kind of ended it on the right path there, him admitting that, he no longer supports him. That's great. If you're watching and you support Trump, go ahead and drop a MAGA down below in that chat. I'll invite you up. I'd love to have a conversation. And while we're getting the next guest up here, Rolf, thank you for the $5. Say no evidence to support your claim is crazy, lol. Yeah, that's what that last guest was shouting about. What's up, James? Do you support Trump?
While you guys are at home sitting on your asses,
yeah, is this
I
you?
just took a private jet out to LA.
Hell yeah.
$1 million.
Hell yeah. $1 million in the lap.
Just rental passenger seats in a coach duffel bag. Couple grand in the lap. I'm about to go drop it at Louis Vuitton.
At LV. Let's fucking go.
Living my dream life. What are you doing?
Yeah, what the fuck are you doing, bro? Come on.
Nothing.
Your ego. Your ego. Your ego is the problem.
Crazy.
Your ego is
with an ego
the
like
problem.
That's actually absurd. And you're talking about people's ego, and this is you.
While you guys are at home sitting on your asses,
sitting on your
I
ass,
just took a private
James.
jet out to LA with $1 million.
With $1 million in my lap, while you're sitting at home on your ass. I'm taking a private jet out to LA with $1 million in my coach duffel
And this
seats,
wasn't even long ago. You still wear the same
passenger-
shirt.
In my
You
passenger
still wear the
seat.
same shirt. You still have the same shirt on.
Okay. Do you want?
You
Okay,
just wore the shirt 3 days ago.
Okay, I'll be serious. I'll actually talk.
While you guys are at home sitting on your asses, I just took a private jet out to
You've
LA
already
with $1
you've
million.
already played it twice. Is it okay if I talk now? I'll take it seriously. Are you ready?
Wow. Your ego is through the roof.
Okay, he's grandstanding. Let him grandstand.
Your ego
everybody.
is massive.
Let me know.
It is massive.
Let me know when I can respond. I'm waiting.
Yeah, go ahead. And you can't say that it was a long time ago. I mean, what was that, like last year?
No, that was 3 years ago, but same difference. I'll go ahead and respond now. So, I mean, A, if you're a viewer of my content, then you already know exactly what this is. We talk about it a lot. And B, that video clip is absolutely funny as fuck. Okay, you cannot tell me.
How is that funny?
Will
You're
you
dead
let-
ass
will-
serious.
Will you let me finish speaking?
How is that funny? It's funny if you weren't serious.
I will happily allow you to speak once I'm done speaking. Can I finish
Yeah,
speaking?
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Great. So point number B, that video is absolutely fucking funny as hell. I've actually considered remaking it for the shits and giggles just for fun, but I know that people like you would take it out of context, so I haven't done that. But I wish I could, because that would be funny as fuck. And then see, I'll explain it all for you and then everybody else that doesn't know what's going on. So before I am doing what I'm doing now in politics, I was a full stack web developer. In fact, right before I did what I do now, I had a stable job working for an e-commerce company to build out their online revenue portals and to scale out their brick and mortar services. I was their creative director. It was really awesome, and I also did a lot of front end and back end work for other e-commerce companies as well as for real estate companies. Now, of course, when I was older, when I was like 18, 19, I ran this professionally through like my own branding agency. I had a couple of people on board, a junior developer. In fact, I even have 2 international awards for web development. But when I was 16 and 17, that's when, like the Tate hype was real. So the way that I tried to market the same services that I sold professionally for years when I was like 16 and 17 was to basically use similar marketing tactics to Andrew Tate. And let me tell you, it was cringy as fuck. Absolutely cringy as fuck, but the product was real. And if anything, when I was younger, I sold it for significantly below market value. And it ended up being a product that I would sell for like 5 figures or more.
So you were lying then, so now you're saying you're not lying now, and I'm kind of just confused on what part of that video is funny. Like, what's the funny part of it?
Yeah, because it was kind of like a satirical joke. Like
You were posting it at the time. No, you weren't posting it at the time, acting like
it's
you're
really
posting
really
it at the time,
cringe.
acting like it. No, but at the time, were you joking when you were posting it, or were you serious when you were posting it?
In making the content, it was obviously supposed to be a satirical joke, but it was being used to market a real product.
No, it was
now,
not.
You could say that like the marketing was cringe. I agree 110%, but it was a real product.
Yeah, but that's just not true at all. That
okay, so I have a question. What is your critique?
Serious in that video.
Okay, so you're saying that I was serious. Wait, so you think I actually had $1 million in a Coach duffel bag?
You were lying to the people to sell it. It's what all these fake people do. And for you to act like that's not the case is a complete and total lie. Okay. You were acting like you were someone else. You were acting like you're arrogant. You were acting like you're cocky. You were acting like you're rich to sell a product to people that you would manipulate them into buying. That is the point blank period truth.
All right, James. So, I mean, I've gone over this about 1 billion different times. This comes up like maybe once a month. And I mean, I talk about it every single time. So I don't know if you follow me.
But don't lie about
it. Now you're interrupting me. There's not a single thing that I've lied about. I would have really appreciated if you let me speak. I'm giving you the honest take, and it's really funny because the tactics of the right, what we see today, is to basically say, well, look at Dean when he was this cringy 16, 17-year-old using this this form of marketing, playing into the whole Andrew Tate thing. Listen, bro, I agree. It was cringy. Okay, I 110% agree that it was cringy. But once again, the product that I was selling had a genuinely high ROI. It was a real professional service. And if you want to say that the marketing was fake, okay, I'll agree with you in the sense that it didn't actually have $1 million. I wasn't actually hopping on.
You're scamming your followers.
But that's the thing.
You're scamming your followers.
What's a scam?
What's a scam is when you promote something, but there's hidden messages that you're not telling your followers. For example, you're giving off the idea that if your followers were to buy your product, they could be like you and have $1 million. When you see people influencing day trading and like, oh, go buy my day trading platform, these people are scamming individuals like you and I to go buy these platforms so we can be like them. So you're giving off this false narrative that you are rich when you're not rich and people don't necessarily want to be like you.
Okay, so you're saying that I gave off a false narrative like I had a bunch of money, but I didn't actually have a bunch of money. 110%. I couldn't agree with you more. That it was cringy and wrong, okay? But now about calling the product in of itself a scam, that's where I disagree. The reason why
I didn't call the product a scam.
Now, the reason why I don't think that the product in of itself was a scam was because I was legitimately selling full-fledged front-end and back-end web development for e-commerce websites, stores, and as I told you, once I grew up, I was no longer a cringy little teenager. I sold those products professionally. But if your claim is that the marketing for the product was misleading because I wasn't actually rich, you are absolutely 110% right, Mr. James. It was very cringy and wrong. I agree. If I could go back in time, I would absolutely not have done that. But once again, A, I don't think that makes the implication that it was a scam. And B, I'll ask you to tell us why you support Trump.
Yeah, I'll just say one more thing. When you talk about people's arrogance, you should maybe look at your own arrogance because that's the most arrogant video.
So now you're going to leave. Now you're going to leave.
No, I'm not leaving.
I just want to clarify, James. Was your goal in coming up here trying to expose me as a grifter fraud?
Did I say I was leaving?
Answer my question. Was your goal in coming up here attempting to expose me as a grifter fraud?
No, I just think it's funny that you're always playing these clips, and I just played a clip, and now you're getting kind of a little bit angry about it and saying that I'm going to leave. I'm not going to leave. But let's get back to what you were talking about earlier with the guy that could not provide his sources.
Wait, James, I'm so sorry. Are you saying that there is a parallel that can be drawn between old clips of myself and old clips of Trump?
No, I'm just giving you a clip of yourself because you like to play clips of other people. So it's kind of just, I'm playing you a clip of yourself.
Okay, well, the people that I like to play clips of, that's going to be of Trump. So are you saying that's where the parallel's drawn?
If you can't see some sort of parallel, is you're playing clips, I'm playing a clip. I'm not saying that they're in comparison into the wrongness of their actions. I'm just saying that I'm playing you a clip of yourself, just like you're playing a clip of Trump. I'm not saying that there is a parallel between the two clips. It's pretty easy to understand.
Okay, if there's not a parallel between the two clips, then it wouldn't be a comparison. And you said that there was a comparison. So the reason that I don't think that...
Well, there is a comparison. One's a clip, one's a clip.
So the reason that I don't think a comparison could be made between the two clips, the reason that the clips are played, and the reason that the clips are relevant is because unlike Trump, I could acknowledge that that was cringy and wrong. Okay, I mean, have you ever seen Donald Trump acknowledge a day in his life that when he boasted about hitting on naked teenage girls was a bad thing to do?
They weren't teenage girls, first of all. They were women's Miss Teen. They were not Teen USA. That's not in the clip that you play. You always add that part just to make it sound worse. I do agree what he did was bad in and of itself, but to add the teen part is misleading as well. So maybe don't add that part in as well.
So that's not misleading because we know one of these women who was a teen that had Donald Trump walk in on them on backstage. Her name is Victoria. Today, she is a 30 to 40-year-old woman. In the early aughts and late 90s, she was a teenager that competed in Miss Teen USA, and she'll personally testify to the fact that this is something that Trump had done. But once again, I want you to answer my question. Have you ever seen Donald Trump hold himself accountable for any of these things or acknowledge that it was wrong to do?
No, I think Trump struggles with his arrogance just like you do.
All right. Well, that's going to be like the lack of a comparison because what was the first thing that I did? Right? I acknowledged that it was cringy and weird and wrong, 110%.
Why do you mute me every time I finish my sentence? It's kind of annoying. I have to unmute every single time. So can you maybe stop doing that?
Can you respond to what I've said here?
Yeah, I think that's one of Trump's mistakes. Is not owning up to.
That's not what I asked you to respond to. I asked you to respond to the fact that the difference here is going to be the fact that I can acknowledge that that was cringy, weird, and wrong.
Yeah,
right? I was a cringy little child, 110%.
Okay, yeah, as long as you admit that. So now back to what you were talking about with the other guest that came up here, and you were saying that you knew exactly.
Wait, James, have you never heard me admit that before? We talk about this all the time.
Well, I mean, at first you were saying like it wasn't, you were joking. I mean, it's kind of an interesting joke to be lying to your followers.
Like satire, like involved in the creation of it. Absolutely, I got carried away. Like I said, I was a cringy little teenager.
You're not owning up to it. You're not owning up to it now.
Wait,
you just
two
went
things.
back.
I don't know why you're equivocating. Two things that can be true at once. So on one hand, it can be true that I was a cringy little teenager and I got carried away in the satire. On the other hand, that could be wrong, right? Because it's like positioning myself as somebody with a lot of money that doesn't actually have a lot of money. Like those two things can be true simultaneously.
Okay, sure. Yep.
So then what's the issue?
The issue is you were putting on a false narrative.
So are you trying to convince?
Followers.
So you're trying to convince me that what I did when I was 16 and 17 was wrong?
And you already agreed to it, so I don't know why we're talking about it anymore. I'm saying if you're owning up to it,
okay.
I'm just saying that at some point your past is going to catch up to you, and at some point you cannot run from your past. And just because you did something stupid in the past doesn't. If you just say all of a sudden now like, oh, I'm sorry for it, at some point people won't give a shit if you make too many mistakes. At some point you're not going to be able to make up for all your mistakes.
Wait, so you're saying at some point my past will catch up to me? I mean, I feel like the only
no, not yours in particular.
I feel like the only thing that every single Trump supporter on this app likes to talk about is my past. I'm very transparent of who I am. I'm very transparent of who I was. I mean, in fact, if you look up Dean Withers' New York Times, you will read a piece that was co-opted by myself going over my past, the beliefs in which I've held prior. And I honestly just find it like really disingenuous when like you or people on the right like to suggest that this means that I'm a bad person today. I find it very disingenuous when you or other people like to suggest that this means that I'm a grifter, have negative intention, or don't believe in what I say. And obviously, I think that this is done by people on the right for the reason being that you cannot critique or intellectually rebuttal my claims as it relates to why Donald Trump is a bad president or why we should endorse/support progressivism. So you would rather just like to attack facts of my character 3 to 5 years ago. And I think that it's a failing argument because what I can do is take accountability. What I can do is recognize my previous downfalls. And I think that this actually shows us a very interesting picture where this 20-year-old white boy on TikTok can hold himself to a higher level of accountability than the goddamn president of the United States of America.
Because you got caught. And so you're saying that it wouldn't be bad if Trump did these things as long as he owns up to it? Is that what you're saying? As long as people own up to their mistakes, then it's fine.
Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and respond to the first thing and then to the second thing. So the first thing that you just said was that it is the case that the only reason I transparently discuss these things is because I've got caught. So, I mean, that's not true at all. I don't understand why you would ever suggest such a false dichotomy. Maybe it's because you want to paint me out to be somebody that I'm not because you're so pissed that I'm right and I could prove you wrong. I mean, you could go into my Discord and find an announcement 7 months before anything about how I used the N-word when I was 14 was published online, about me talking about my prior usage of the N-word. And if you're saying that it is the case that because I got caught, that's why I changed who I am as a person, well, then please explain to me why I made that change of who I am as a person before I even had a public platform.
Yeah, I'll tell you
Like,
right
you
now, why
understand,
would you?
the day I started going live on TikTok with like 10, 20, and 30 fucking viewers was the day I begun advocating for progressivism publicly, meaning and implying that I had to change who I was before that point.
Yeah, so why would you apologize to your community for something that they didn't know about? It seems kind of suspicious that you would know that this would get brought up and you were kind of warning them beforehand that this was something that could be brought up. You wouldn't just randomly tell your community, oh, by the way, guys, I used to use
See everybody. See everybody. See everybody. So what James is what James is trying to do is to paint the lose-lose. So he's saying on one hand, if I don't come out about it until after it's made public knowledge, then I'm a bad person and I only addressed it because I got caught. But on the other hand, if I talk about it before anything comes out publicly, I'm a bad person because I was manipulating my fan base and releasing this knowledge, expecting it to come out in the future. Can you please tell us a third option to either coming out about it beforehand or coming out about it after?
Yeah, so if I go and if I go and slap my friend Jimmy in the face,
no. Tell me the third option.
I'm not going to go home and tell my parents I slapped Jimmy in the face.
What was the third option? What was the third option? Tell me what the third option was. What was the third option? Because you're saying if I came out about it before, I'm a bad person. If I came out about it after, I'm a bad person. So what is the third option of when I could discuss these things without being a bad person? Tell me. Tell me what that third option is, James.
Yeah, I will. You go to the person in which you use the N-word to. I don't know what kind of context it was used in, but you tell them in particular, I am sorry for this.
Wait, why would I apologize? Why would I apologize to a white boy for using the N-word?
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, the context of which I use the N-words, and I don't talk about this context because it like promotes the idea that like I'm trying to excuse the action, or at least sets people's takeaway. So I don't do that. So I never talk about this context. I never talk about this context. So the context of the usage of the N-word when I was 14 was my friend at the time, who was white, sent me a Fortnite edit, and then I said in response that has goated my N-word. Okay, right? So like, no, I'm obviously not going to apologize to that other white boy for using the N-word. Okay, right? The apology would be to black individuals in this country, right, for like propagating the usage of the term, as well as for the very obvious racist implications, as well as the normalization of it, like socially speaking. But I obviously don't owe an apology to like the white boy that I said that's goated my N-word to. No, not at all. Right?
Yeah. I was more so talking about the video of you acting like you had all that money, because I think that when you're 14, you make really stupid mistakes.
So now you want to pivot and move on. Well, I'm not ready to pivot and move on yet, because you owe me and everybody else an explanation about the fact that you said if I came out about this beforehand, I'm bad, and if I came out about this after, I'm also bad. So then when was the time to come out about this and talk about this without being bad?
Yeah, I guess that's kind of, I can't tell your own self-reflection. I think that it's kind of just a self-reflection thing.
Okay.
Because
so you're saying the way to become a better person is through self-reflection. So right, obviously you don't have access to like my internal dialogue. You don't have access
You have access to Trump's internal dialogue.
You don't have access to my beliefs. So the only thing you can do is reflect upon what you do have access to, which is the statements I make, the beliefs in which I hold to, what I have said as it relates to these events, and the person that I am today, right? And when we look at the statements that I've made as it relates to these circumstances, when we look at the beliefs in which I hold to be true today, and when we look at like external beliefs in which you have access to, such as the fact that I condemn the usage of the N-word amongst white Americans, when I advocate for an eradication of racism, not just in America, but on the global stage, and I talk about my active deconstruction, and I advocate for others to do that same deconstruction, not just as it relates to systemic racism, but also as it relates to other forms of bigotry, maybe that as directed towards immigrants, such as xenophobia, other forms of bigotry, such as homophobia, or as I relate for overall more progressive ideals. Obviously, it is the case in which I have self-reflected, I have changed my beliefs, and I'm a significantly different person today than I was at 14, meaning under your view, I would have sufficiently satisfied your request of going from being a bad person to being a good person. So now that you understand that I'm a good person, do you wish to push further on the point?
Yeah, you're a great person. I agree. Let's move past this point. Because
and now, James, I know exactly who you are. We've had good conversation before. Did you decide to come up here and crash out today because I haven't let you on my live in the last 3 weeks?
Nope.
Are you sure, buddy? You've come up every other day for the last 3 weeks, and I've told you that we've
kick me.
No. I'm asking you a question. You've come up every other day for the last 3 weeks requesting a debate, even though I've already talked to you maybe 5 times. Okay, and honestly, once again, those 5 times I've spoken to you, I thought that they were good. I thought it was good dialogue. You and me have had 5 debates. Obviously, if you thought that I was a racist piece of shit, why the fuck would you have good dialogue with me back those 5 times? All right, I just kind of think that you've gotten upset because I've refused to talk to you more than 5 times and I've suggested these boundaries against you. So then today when you came up, instead of requesting a debate with me like you have the last 5 times, you instead just played that clip to say, oh, you know what? This Dean guy really pissed me off because he didn't want to talk to me. So now I'm going to try to convince as many of his viewers as possible that they shouldn't listen to him and think that he's a bad person. Because Dean has caused turmoil for me, emotionally speaking, because he doesn't want to talk to me like I want to talk to him. Now I'm going to try to cause turmoil for him by manufacturing fictitious outrage over things that have already been addressed a billion times. Is that what you came up here today to do?
Oh, so now you're getting a little angry that I played the clip.
Wait, how is asking a very fair question?
I don't know what it seems like.
How's asking a very fair question indicating anger? I'm not angry.
This is my first time ever talking to you. So let's get into what you were talking about.
Wait. Now you're lying about not talking to me before? Why would you do that?
Okay, let's get into the debate. You said you wanted a debate, so let's debate.
Oh my God. So your tactic there was just to completely lie to suggest that what I was saying was wrong, but because we know that you're lying, that merely affirms everything I said to be true. Why would you lie in response to a set of claims if the claims were false?
If the claims were false?
Right, if everything that I just said was false, why did you lie in response by saying that you've never talked to me before?
Dean, if you cannot sense sarcasm, like the clear non-sarcasm in your video saying that you have $1 million in a duffel bag.
So now you're saying that the last claim was sarcastic? That didn't sound sarcastic to me. Everybody, when James just said that he's never spoken to me before, did that sound sarcastic to any one of you?
That's what I say to you every time. Okay, let's get into what I was saying. In 2018.
Right. All right. Well, we're going to move on to the next guest. Let's go and get the next Trump supporter up here. We're going to go and get them loaded in right now. And then obviously everybody, it is a case that I don't mind talking about that. I pride myself on transparency. I think it's really important to do so because I want to be able to propagate the message that you can go from being a bad person that does bad things to being a good person that does good things. And if I didn't believe that, then I wouldn't be sitting on live for 4 hours every single day hosting these conversations and having these debate with people in which I believe hold false beliefs. So that is why these conversations are so important. That is why I pride myself on transparency. That is why there's literally an article about me on New York Times talking about, right, who I was and who I am today. Right? And if you can't recognize that, you're either like a fictitious rage baiter like James that hates me because you ain't me, hates me because I'm right and I've proven you wrong incessantly, or like, I don't know what the hell's going on. Maybe you haven't listened to enough of me. What's going on, Robert? Do you support Trump?
Yes, I do, sir.
Okay, how do you?
1806.
Okay, awesome. Could you disconnect any Bluetooth device that you may have connected to your phone?
It's my AirPods.
Yeah, could you take your AirPods out for me? Phenomenal. While he's taking those AirPods out real quick, I'd like to thank Kita for the $15 over on Venmo. That is KITA. Saying thank you for putting up with all the BS and keeping us informed as fast as you possibly can. I appreciate that, Kita. As well as Narissa with the $20 over on Venmo for the Coach duffel bag. Thank you for the $20, Narissa. As well as Jenna with the $10 for the $1 million Coach Duffel Bag Fund. Let's go, you guys. We are going to make the $1 million Coach Duffel Bag real, LFG. As well as Sadie with the $10 over on Venmo. I really appreciate you for that. Ian with a 5. And Claudia! Thank you so much for the $60 donation over on Venmo. Claudia says, thank you for all that you do to educate people. The Hispanic community thanks you. Claudia, that is so incredibly kind of you. Holy fuck, you guys. Show some love to Claudia down below in that comment section, literally right now for the $60 donation. That is seriously so incredibly kind of you. I want to see at least 600 Claudia W's down below in that chat. As well as Andrew, thank you for the 10. Tara, thank you for the 10. Lee with the 25 cents. Finn with the $5. And then Kaylee, thank you so much for the $15 on PayPal. And Lauren with the 10. Show some love to Kaylee and Lauren down below in that chat while we're hopping into this next debate here. Mr. Robert, take it away. Tell us why you support Trump.
I just want to start by saying there's no way I can talk to you without my AirPods in. So if it's really that bad of a problem.
Unfortunately, I'm going to drop you, man. I do apologize. The mic quality is just sufficiently bad to justify me moving on to the next guest. What is going on? Katie, can you stop requesting to come back up? I don't like talking to you.
I'm sorry, what?
I don't like talking to you. Please stop requesting to come up. That would be great. We are going to go ahead and move on to the next guest at this point. Everybody, if you are in that queue, make sure that means that you're from America, at least 18 years old, and you support Donald J. Trump. Awesome. Make sure that we're also double tapping on those phone screens, everybody. What is going on? Do you support Trump, Mason? All right, Mason dropped. I definitely felt like Mason was going to be a little boy. Also, if you're watching and you're like, hey, I like this guy.
It's me again, Dean. Fuck you.
And there we go. He just came up here to say the F slur, apparently. Yeah. Sorry you guys had to hear that. Moving on to the next guest. We got some emotional men today. Moving on. Here we go. Basically, appreciate you for the galaxy. That is so incredibly kind of you. Moving on to the next guest. Here we go, everybody. Going to drop a MAGA down below in that chat attached to your age. We'll get you pulled up onto the live right now. But as I was saying, if you'd like to support me, you can find my Venmo, my PayPal, and the link tree in my bio over on TikTok. I get 100% of those proceeds over on those platforms, as well as I could shout you out and read any and all attached messages. You could also find my Venmo, my PayPal over in the pinned message on the YouTube stream. What is going on, TaylorMade? Do you support Trump?
Yes, sir. Hey, can I switch my headphones real quick?
Yeah, honestly, if you could disconnect any type of Bluetooth devices, that would be sick.
All right, bet. Hold on.
All right, while he's doing that, guys, make sure that we're double tapping. Phenomenal. All right, here we go. Yo, Veteran! Thank you for the $50 super chat over on YouTube, saying, sending Boomer respect for your uphill battle against ill-equipped cultists every day. Keep fighting for your generation, sir. Dude, Veteran, we fucking love you. Show some love to Veteran down below in the chat, everybody. Let's get 500 Veteran W's down below. We love you, Veteran. We love you so much. Now, Taylor, are you ready to go? Okay, I don't know if Taylor's here. Taylor, we cannot hear you. Well, give Taylor maybe like another 10 seconds here.
No need.
Are you driving?
No, I don't drive.
Most obvious lie ever told? Most obvious lie ever told by anybody ever moment? Crazy work. Let's go to get that next guest up in here. Here we go, y'all. Eliza, thank you for the $10 over on Venmo, saying James seems jealous. Dude, honestly, he's just mad that he missed out on the rich lifestyle. Isn't that right, Eliza? Thank you for the $10. That is incredibly kind of you. Shout out to Eliza down below in that chat while we're getting the next guest up in here, y'all. Most obvious lie of all time. Most obvious lie of all time. Okay, here we go. Moving on to the next guest. Phenomenal. What's going on? You support Trump? Rose, thank you so much for the sage slash. Hello, Lacrosse? They're not even here. Wow, it is incredibly hard to find a single Trump supporter for us to talk to today. I'm not going to lie. Very, very difficult for us to find a single Trump supporter to talk to today. If you're watching and you'd like to come up and have a debate with me on why you support Donald J. Trump, let us know down below. We'll get you loaded up into the live. What's up, Trevor? Do you support Trump? Okay, Trevor's not here. What about you, Jamit?
Hello.
Hey, what's up, man? You support Trump?
Yes, I voted Velveeta. Yes.
All right, Jamit. Well, let's have a debate. Let's do it. Real quick, before we hop into the debate, guys, I don't think that this is fake. Real quick, Ashley, thank you for the $25 over on Venmo, saying Piper loves your show. Please give her a shout out. Piper, if you're watching with Ashley right now, shout out to you. Let's get 250 Piper W's down below in the chat. Huge shout out to Piper. Thank you for watching and loving the show. You are phenomenal. As well as Catalina with a $15 over on Venmo for hurting the right side's egos. That's right, Catalina. Thank you for the 15. Shout out to Catalina down below. As well as to Shelby for the $20 over on that Venmo, saying in honor of Arkansas against Trump and fascism. Fuck fascism, fuck Trump, Shelby. I really appreciate you for the $20 donation. Let's get some W Shelby, some W Piper, some W Catalinas, and some W Elizas down below in that chat. Take it away, Jamit. Tell us why you support Trump.
Hello?
Hey.
Yeah. Is it my turn?
It is. I can't even believe that this is real.
What?
Don't worry about it. Why do you support Trump?
Well, you know, I've been around a long time and I've seen a lot of administrations in my life. but I've yet to see a man like Donald J. Trump who stands up to the people. Now, you can't say that he doesn't stand up to the people.
No, I actually completely agree that Donald Trump stands up and against the American people. Absolutely. I mean, what else would we call it when he's trying to pass tax policy that's going to reduce the after-tax income of 80% of us? Or what else are we going to call it when he's illegally deporting undocumented immigrants and illegally detaining illegal immigrants for 3 months with no reason? Obviously, he's standing up and against the people. That's why we should get him out of office.
Well, you have your opinion, and I appreciate you sharing it with me. But my opinion is, I don't think that Mrs. Harris would have had a very good time with this problem in the Middle East. Really? I don't think so.
Really? I disagree. How good of a time is Trump having with it? I mean, let's look at the facts here. So he bombed Iran, trying to wipe out their nuclear facilities. U.S. intelligence this morning tells us that he actually only set him back by a couple months. And then he tried to get like a ceasefire agreement between Israel and Iran. It turns out there was no official ceasefire agreement. He lied. That's what we learned from Iran. But then Iran was still like, okay, Trump, even though like you didn't actually get a ceasefire, we'll still agree to the terms if Israel does. And the next thing you know, Israel is breaking the ceasefire and Donald Trump is saying fuck on national television. So Chad, thank you for the work hard. Wait, that actually went to Jamit. There you go. Jamit has a new gift.
But Dean, but he did disable 3 different nuclear facilities.
Right, but we didn't get any gain out of that. Like, we only set them back like 2 months, and it was at the expense of like possibly enacting terror attacks on American soil, 14 ballistic missiles launched at our military bases in Qatar, further emboldening more strikes on Israel, further emboldening.
You should thank Obama for that.
What? No.
You should thank Obama for enriching. Please don't deny that. It's
Obama's
very
the
true.
one that got us the deal that stopped their production in nuclear weapons.
He released $5 billion.
Well, I think he may have even released more than $5 billion, and I was completely on board with that. Completely on board with it.
He did it without congressional approval, Dean.
So while we were in the deal with Iran,
you're going to gloss over that?
It was a deal made between 6 countries
without Congress.
I don't care. I think it was a great
deal.
Deal.
So then you shouldn't care that Donald Trump did what he did.
What? So
fair point, right?
No, not a fair point. So the reason why I liked what Obama did with the denuclearization agreement is because it prevented Iran from their further development of nuclear weapons. And we know for a fact that's what that deal did because the IAOA had 24/7 access and surveillance to all of their nuclear production plants. They dismantled the means that they'd used to produce the enriched uranium, as well as they shipped 97% of the uranium to Russia. Also, not to mention that deals such as these don't require congressional approval. They have never required congressional approval. They're typically made between the president of America and the leadership of other countries. And then if you're saying that, well, then I'd be forced into saying that therefore I can't care what Donald Trump does. Okay, well, like my main reason why I care what Donald Trump did isn't because he did it without congressional approval. Even if he had congressional approval for those strikes, I still would be holding the same position that I hold to be true today, that they were bad because they unnecessarily increased global tensions and introduced crazy risks such as Iran shutting down the Strait of Hormuz, which would spike the price of gasoline and send the price of oil spiraling. And of course, the threat of activating sleeper cells in America, or the threat of going back into war in the Middle East via retaliatory responses from Iran towards our military bases.
And why would we be worried about sleeper cells, Dean?
Why would we be worried about sleeper cells?
Right, maybe because we've had a border that's been out of control for the last 4 years. Can you admit that, please?
Okay. You know, this is a typical tactic, pivot, deflect away from the claims that I've
It's not
made.
pivot, deflect. It's not.
Yeah, because we're going from talking about the bad decisions that Trump has made to talking about your claims about why Biden was a bad president. It's absolutely a deflection.
Would you like me to readdress your question?
Yeah, for sure. And then I don't mind addressing the border in the last 4 years after it, but it's just like going to be 2 significantly different conversations.
Okay. So what was your question?
Yeah, that Donald Trump was terrible for pulling us out of the deal that we had with Iran, preventing them from further development of nuclear weapons. And then the strikes that he launched against Iran were really bad because of the potential outcomes of those strikes being another war in the Middle East, global inflation and significantly more expensive gas, and even potential terror attacks on American soil with the use of activated sleeper cells on behest of the Iranian government.
It's very simple, Dean. We support Israel.
Exactly.
It's that simple.
No, it is. It truly is that simple.
It's a geopolitical move. I'm not going to say that it's not, because I would be lying if I told you anything different. But that is our stronghold in the Middle East.
No,
you must understand
absolutely.
that.
What you just said is absolutely true of the American government. Israel first, America last. We need to do whatever Israel wants us to do, regardless if it's throwing us back into another unnecessary war that would potentially cost thousands of lives of American military troops, regardless if it would waste trillions of dollars, and honestly, fucking regardless of how Israel treats America. Like, you understand that Israel broke the ceasefire agreement that Donald Trump set forth. Bull, but guess what? You don't care. You don't care that they broke the ceasefire agreement that Trump set forth. It is still Israel first. You let Israel do whatever the fuck they want to, even if they're breaking our ceasefire agreements and having strikes on Iranian prisons ruled as international war crimes by the UN. You don't care. You just want them to do whatever they want. It is absolutely disgusting. Tell me why you are willing to put Israel first, no matter what, even if they're disrespecting the agreements that we set forth and launching international war crimes on other countries.
Sure, I'll be happy to. October 7, 2023 is all I need to say. It's just like Japan coming after the U.S. in 43 in Pearl Harbor. That's a mosquito coming after a bumblebee.
Oh, yes,
dragon.
yes. Israel's the perpetual victim, everybody. No matter what, Israel's the victim.
No.
So because of October 7th, when Israel launches international war crime attacks on Iranian prisons, we need to support them because they're the victim, everybody. When Israel breaks the ceasefire agreements that we set forth, we need to support them because they're the victim, everybody. Right? Even though October 7th was not the start of conflict because Israel had illegally occupied the West Bank. They're the victim. Even though the Nakba and the ethnic cleansing of over 500,000 Palestinians, they're the victim. Everybody, I'm going to put you in to a trance right now. You are all in the trance that Israel is always the victim, no matter what, and they are well within their rights to do whatever they want, whenever they want, to whomever they want, even if it's America, even if it's the 54,000 innocent Palestinian individuals that they've killed, even if it's Iran, they get to do whatever they want. See how that's your argument?
How many times did Israel come to the table with deals that Palestine shut them down because it wasn't all of Israel? Okay. Tell me, Dean, because you seem to know it all.
Now you're shifting the conversation to Palestine.
No.
Yes, you are. We were talking about Iran. We were talking about Iran.
You brought up the West Bank. You brought up the West Bank. I brought up October 7th.
As a reason to detail why it is the case that no, Israel's not a perpetual victim. Now, listen, I'm more than happy to talk to you about Palestine, but we're still not done with our conversation about Iran. So let's finish our conversation about Iran and how you think that Israel's justified in doing whatever the hell they want, whenever the hell they want to do it, because it's Israel first, America last, and then we could talk about Palestine.
Right. When I say we support Israel, I say we support Israel. I don't say necessarily for all, and I'm good. I said this at the beginning and I saw you smile. Not for all the right reasons, but because of our geopolitical positioning in the Middle East. If you can't understand that, then I get it. I don't agree with what you're saying, a lot of what you're saying. But if you look at the situations, if you look at Syria, if you look at Sudan, if you look at all the surrounding countries of Iran, they're all terrified of this country, and they have been for 40 years. They've had it.
Wait, I have a question.
Sure.
Wait, so if you think it's like Israel first, we need to do whatever we can to protect Israel first, America last. So then you think that Donald Trump should literally be fucking impeached for pulling us out of the nuclear agreement that we had with Iran, because that essentially gave Iran the green light to continue construction of nuclear weapons, and which would first be used against Israel, right?
But you're forgetting the fact that Obama gave them back the money, Dean.
Why did he do that?
Why? What do you mean, why did he do that?
Why did he unfreeze their bank accounts in South Korea?
I honestly, I don't know if I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sit and perpetuate something I don't know, but I do know that he gave the money back.
Right. It was a part of the denuclearization agreement. Okay, we said, if you give us the most comprehensive full access to all of your nuclear facilities, 24/7 surveillance overseen by the IAEA as well as the UN, and you deconstruct all of the means in which you possess to further enrich your uranium, and you just give 97% of it to Russia, as long as you waste all of the billions of dollars that you've spent on all that, and you stop the production of nukes and dismantle it immediately and give us complete oversight to make sure that you're honoring the agreement, then we will unfreeze the bank accounts that you have in South Korea. Okay, so basically the trade-off is giving them back their own money, given that they are not producing any nuclear weapons, and we know it for a fact. And I would say that is definitely better than pulling us out of the agreement, green-lighting them to further produce nuclear weapons that they could then turn around and use on America, or as you said, use on Israel. And because you're Israel first, you're a crazy Zio. Well, that is like fucking World War III right there. You know, like the fact that Donald Trump pulled us out of that agreement, giving them the green light to further the construction of their nukes just so they could turn it around and use them on Israel, like Netanyahu has obviously been saying forever, and obviously Netanyahu's never wrong, right? Like that is a travesty.
So, Dean, why does Iran have their uranium enrichment major facilities 300 feet under the ground if they're not doing anything that they shouldn't be doing in plain sight? Can you please answer that? Thank you.
Okay, so your question is, if they were honoring the agreement, then why were the facilities 300 feet underground?
Correct. And they weren't there before.
Right. Yeah,
yes, go
sure.
ahead.
For sure. Well, the first answer to this question is, well, this is a fucking red herring. We had 24/7 access and surveillance to the locations, even the ones that were underground. But the bigger reason is radiation, right? It's uranium, okay? So, I mean, if there's any issues at these facilities and you have a type of chemical spill or something goes wrong and the machines explode, well, guess what? You're going to want to keep that radiation underground to reduce the likelihood of radiation poisoning for their citizens, radiation poisoning for their ecosystem, for their crops, for anything or anybody in the region. It's just obviously the smart decision to make. And like my evidence of this might be Chernobyl, right? So, but once again, this is a massive red herring because we had 24/7 surveillance access to all of their nuclear facilities, even the ones 300 feet underground.
And we never trusted them. And now they're eliminated. And I'm happy.
Wait. When that agreement was signed under Obama, yeah, we did trust them because we had oversight not from Iran, but from the IAEA, the EU, and the UN. 24/7 access to surveillance. The IAEA reported 0 infractions in the 3 years that the agreement was made.
I'll have to take your word on that. I can't disprove it. I trust you. You're a very knowledgeable guy. I won't... I'll have to concede on that. But
so then why do you support Trump, even though he pulled us out of that agreement, greenlighting them for their further construction in nuclear weapons?
Because I don't believe that what's going on right now in the Middle East should be happening at all. And I don't think a country that says unalive to Americans in front of their leader is a healthy thing for American people. That's what they sat and chanted in front of the Ayatollah. Okay, you saw the clip, right?
This is a big deflection once again because I'm asking you
why, a deflection when America is threatened by a known T group.
The deflection is that you're specifically making was because I was asking you, well, then why do you support Donald Trump taking us out of that agreement and giving this terrorist government the green light to further the development of nuclear weapons? And then you're just simply pivoting to saying, well, I'm actually not going to answer your question, Dean. I'm not going to explain how that was a justified decision of Trump. I'm just simply going to call their government a terrorist and say that they hate America and further spew propaganda to justify bombing them. But I mean, in accordance with your logic here, right, would you say that we should also drop bombs on North Korea because they say the same shit?
I don't think what I said has that same implication, but that's a stretch, I would say.
What is worse? Like, North Korea has been threatening to fucking nuke us, okay? That's obviously worse than their leadership chatting death to America.
Trump has set foot on North Korean soil.
I know, and there's absolutely nothing that came out of it, right? Like, at least Iran was willing to work with us on that nuclear peace agreement. When he stepped onto North Korean soil to try to broker a similar nuclear peace agreement with them, they signed the agreement, took pictures, and then violated it 2 months later. For the entirety of the 3 years that the nuclear peace agreement with Iran was signed into law, it is the case that there's 0 violations reported. If anything, North Korea is less stable, more anti-American, and more unwilling to work with us diplomatically speaking than Iran.
Are you content with that explanation?
I'm not sure of the question that you're asking, but I am definitely not content with the fact that you say it's Israel first, it's America first. We need to protect the interests of these 2 countries, and that means that we need to absolutely just destroy Iran because they're going to nuke us all and kill us all. But then somehow you support the guy that pulled us out of a nuclear peace agreement we had with them, that gave them the green light to further construct nuclear weapons. I just don't understand how Donald Trump pulling us out of that nuclear peace agreement coincides with your Israel first, American first, anti-Iranian claims that you've made here, because none of this would be happening in accordance with your view if he never pulled us out of that agreement to begin with.
I'm not so sure that that's the truth. I think that's a perspective. I think it's a perspective, and you're entitled to your perspective. You're drawing conclusions.
Well, that conclusion is being drawn by the fact that it was the most comprehensive nuclear peace agreement ever signed. It gave us access to 24/7 surveillance of their facilities.
Hold on.
They economically benefited off of us.
Ever signed?
Yes. It is the most comprehensive.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes, I am.
Please look back in 1987, please.
What happened in 1987?
Take a look. You'll see.
Okay, can you tell me?
It's big news in Iran. If you don't know this, then it's probably not a topic you want to talk about.
Okay, I mean, can you give me like an example of like a more comprehensive nuclear peace agreement that
Ayatollah
gave more
Khomeini.
outside oversight onto the
Khomeini is all I have to say. The Ayatollah was Khomeini at the time.
Okay, so what's
Please look at it.
So are you saying that there was a that there's an agreement signed in that year too?
No, I'm saying Iran broke deals left and right all through the 80s and 90s.
Oh, okay. Well, we know that they didn't break this one.
How do you know that?
Yeah, because the IAEI. The IAEA,
I don't,
the UN and the EU.
I don't care for acronyms. I never did. I don't care what people say. Dean, given the track history of Iran, they're not trustworthy people. Very simple.
Well, actually, no. When we look at the track record history, according to the International Atomic Energy Agency, the EU and the UN, they absolutely were reliable as it related to that denuclearization agreement. And like honestly, like you could probably find reason for this out of like self-interest of Iranians, right? Because like the Iranians, they had reason to honor this agreement as they did. Right? Like it led to a better economy for them. We lifted our sanctions on them. We unfroze their bank accounts. Right? They benefited a lot from this, and all that they had to do was reliably give up their nukes, give up their enriched uranium, give us complete, total, and utter oversight over their facilities, ship off their enriched uranium to Russia, and dismantle the machines that they had that they used to construct enriched uranium. The only unreliable negotiator as it related to that denuclearization agreement was Trump when he pulled us out of it for no other reason that it had Obama's signature on it.
Okay, I'll give you that, but can you tell me what uranium enrichment, what the sole purpose of it is, or the only purpose of it could possibly be?
Well, that's a false question because there's more than one purpose of enriched uranium.
Tell me.
Yeah, for sure. So like one purpose would be nuclear energy. Another purpose, like higher levels, would be nuclear weapons. But
all nuclear. They all fall into the category of nuclear. Thank you.
You also have like
Thank you.
Sorry, not weapons, but you have like medical reasons, such as like X-ray machines, MRI machines.
Are they using those in Iran?
Are they using those in Iran? Like
MRI machines in Iran? I don't think
maybe
so.
Like electrical
It's a very poor nation. I have family there.
They're a very poor nation. You understand that the largest shopping mall in the world is in Tehran, right?
You're either rich or you're poor in Iran.
Yeah.
You're not. There's no middle class.
Okay. Well, I'd assume that the rich people there have access to X-rays and MRIs, right?
Possibly.
Okay, great.
I'm not rich.
You kind of sound like Trump.
That shouldn't be.
I'm
sorry you feel that way.
Is this Trump, everybody? Like
Trump wouldn't.
He's kind of like acting. He's kind of like acting like Trump too. Like I'm
not.
Just like I'm just like explaining to you why you're wrong. I'm like demonstrating to you that they honored that agreement, right? Like, do you agree or disagree with Donald Trump pulling us out of it?
I honestly don't know. If you say it, I told you before. I conceded. I said I trust you on this. I did, Dean. I said I concede. I don't know.
Okay. Well,
I did concede.
That's great. Is there anything else that you want to go over, Mr. Trump?
It took you fucking long enough, brother. That's all I'm going to say. I enjoyed your company. Thank you very much.
It took you long enough, brother. That's all I'm going to say. I enjoyed your company. It took you long enough. He was doing like a fake voice there. I don't know why he was doing a fake voice.